apparently, after many console commands, it was finally the admin was finally able to kick off the coach of alternate attacks, and we are gonna be good to jump into our third matchup of the day. Overpass is gonna be up against Epsilon and WASD. The game will be brought to you by Sir Danny alongside Haka. How are you doing, Haka?
I am doing well, Danny, and again, a fairly important game. Well, of course, for WASD it is. But on the Epsilon side of things, they've been struggling so far with this new Swedish roster, at least in this Group B. Only 1 wins and 2 losses up until this point. And I do think they have a chance here against WASD, but at the same time, WASD have looked fairly clutch so far in their first 2 games. And we'll have to see if that continues here into Overpass, because again, it is WASD, who I think, in my opinion, should be favourites to take this one. But sometimes favourites don't win, Danny.
You could say that. WASD, they had relatively close games on Inferno, on Train as well. But the thing is, though, we've been playing the maps that WASD likes to play. They pretty much like playing free maps. Inferno, Train, and Overpass. Overpass being the third matchup here for WASD in the day, nonetheless. And Epsilon, well, they themselves have been finding some success on Overpass. Not the most amount of it, but I think this should be a pretty even game, all things considering. WASD now pushed in through. Barbar has been spotted, though, right behind the tree. He will be good to take 1 frag, and honestly, that isn't that bad though, especially as the push is now continuing on here. JZ Watkins has got a pretty good angle here towards long, but he's not seeing anyone as of yet. WSD, quick aggression, but now they've slowed down things quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks like they are just going to make sure Connector is fully clear. They are going to make sure they can make their way on towards B short, because Erasip is the man here holding with the P2000. He's gone aggressive and it's going to pay off. He gets himself a quick headshot and just decides to fall back, giving his team the man advantage. You can already see Zinken rotating down, but the smoke does go in towards heaven, so WASD have some cover to make their way forwards, but they still need these kills. Oh, there's a player in the barrels. It's Kevsey to open things up. He does get traded off quickly though. Spur finds that kill in reply, and Zinken also gets digged down low, so it's a 2-on-2 that's going to have to go quickly. But already Epsilon get that first kill. Spur having to play safe from B short, he just gets overrun. So Epsilon, despite having the even trade early on, managed to regain control of B. Very back and forth round there. I thought Kevsey was going to have a massive impact. He only gets the 1 kill, but still Epsilon managed to take the round.
That looked kinda scary there, you have to admit, for Epsilon. At least they're able to win the round in the end in a 2 versus 2 post plan. It was also quite interesting to see that, I do believe it was Kevsey himself who actually purchased 2 flashes. Of course, he throws the 1 flash on the player who is on short, looks away, but the second flash, even if they were not able to connect that shot, I mean, the second flash, that was so powerful, you could say that. WSD, though, they're going for a bit of an eco. After planting the bomb, it does make sense. We've been seeing this from the Estonian side time and time again, and honestly, I don't blame them. Let's see what they can accomplish here with the pistols, and with the pistols, they're doing some decent damage here on the CT side, but Zinken, though, will be taken down free, and that's already pretty good here for the CT side, only dropping 1, and to be fair, I think they should have killed Zinken there towards toilets.
Yeah, after he switches to the USP, maybe he should be taken down. Here comes Kevsey finding the flank. Would have just gone for the headshot personally, but Kevsey decides to test his spray control, and he is successful in finding the full spray down. I think that took about 10 bullets or 15 bullets before he found the kill there. It did take a fair amount of time. It looks like we're going to see a pause called by Epsilon. I assume, yeah, this is a technical pause at this point. But it also could be useful for them just to make sure they know the position, because again, WASD, after getting the bomb plant on the pistol round, which they've been able to do fairly often so far, they will be able to get themselves straight into a buy. Even if there won't be an AWP for Spur, there are still plenty of AKs on their side. And Epsilon themselves, they are going to have a few rifles, but they are FAMASs, remember. So that's certainly something to watch out for into this upcoming gun round. And when we head back underway, I'll be interested to see if Epsilon go for some aggression with especially the UMP on towards Zinken. And I'm also interested to see what JZ Walkings buys up here for the team. That's certainly going to be telling as to what Epsilon want to do into this round.
by the looks of it, they're gonna be sticking what they have here already. The free FAMASas. I presume JZ Watkins, where is his gun? Oh, it's the UMP onto JZ Watkins and Zinkin with the M4. So, weaponry, it's not looking too hot here, to be honest, for Epsilon. You could say that WSD having the 5 AK-47s is doing much better off in the weapons department. But at the same time, when you take a look at something different like utility is looking a bit better here for the Epsilon side. And Epsilon, no, Kevzy, in fact. Oh no, Kevzy's gonna be killing Eric. That was not supposed to go according to plan, and Kevzy himself is so low in HP that honestly, that could not have gone worse there, to be honest. JZ Watkins now should be retreating, I'd say, at this point. Turlets has been overrun there by the terrorist side, and the T's, they're still wondering where on earth are they going to hit. Whilst having Turlets control, they have got a pretty good opportunity to even try to hit the A bomb site. So it looks like that's what they're going to be planning for. They are ready to hit A, or are they? Look at the bomb though. It's still quite a question mark. Where on earth are the T's going to go?
Yeah, with 50 seconds, there are still plenty of possibilities as to where WASD are going to go. For the time being, they are just playing fairly safe in towards connector, but a couple of players are making their way up towards bathrooms. So it seems likely that WASD will commit to this push, especially if they can find a quick entry. And Zinkin is the man on towards the site who is running around and potentially risking giving up his life. Said though it will be JZ walking, so try and hold this. He gets the first kill, but the UMP surely will be overwhelmed. Indeed, he's traded off, and here comes Zinkin, finding that first kill, looking for the second frag, but Vista eventually finds the trade, and so we're back to a 2-on-2. We just looked at the combined health of WSD players. Vista still finds a headshot though. Barbar denying the bomb plant. 8 seconds, and Bitchir has to go aggressive. He needs the kill, and he needs it quickly. Barbar,
yeah, Barbar, no!
Down. How does that happen?
Barbar could not have lost that one in a more horrible fashion, I suppose. He drops the bomb carrier, that's very nice. But then, Gaborik, how on earth does he get that kill? I have no idea. He says it's a mouse, but he jumps up. The thing is, though, while he's jumping up, it's like his first free bullets. With those first 3 bullets, he's actually able to land the headshot. That's quite dissatisfying. WSD now changing up the pace here, as they are now pushing on this B bomb site. I think they're going to be overwhelming the Swedish side relatively quickly here, as already you have some of that utility, the Molotovs to be exact, being thrown out here by the Estonians, and Epsilon at this point retaken. It's looking close to impossible. They're already thinking about the option of saving, and yeah, it's gonna be the save. The 2 players though, look at the 2 players. I do believe it's actually Zinkin with his teammate that were wrapping around, but now Bitcher's expecting a similar flank, and the flank is not gonna prevail. So now, I mean, it's all up to JZ Watkins, Kevzy, and Barbar to try and save the rifles, the pistols, and the SMGs that they do have.
After WASD had success with the incredibly slow round, in the previous one. This time, we can switch it up for that quick play I was just discussing. A couple of exit kills here for Epsilon. Not too bad to at least try and keep WASD's economy in check. So it will be back to a 2-2 scoreline. But Epsilon, of course, here, not really going to be able to invest too much. Barbar's the man who does have enough cash to drop some pistols or something like that if he wanted to. That'd probably be a pretty good idea, considering both Zinkin and Eric don't have guns. Looks like he hasn't decided to do so, though, so maybe Barbar's going to be the one saving up for the AWP to drop it over to one of his teammates. Either way, WASD themselves, they have gone for a couple of MAC-10s here, so if Kevzy can find something with the rifle, maybe some opportunities for Epsilon. He's going to be holding towards A-long, but it's going to be Bitcher with the AK on the other side, although, just as I say that, Bitcher does take some damage. I believe it was a dink through the wall, though, so not too much damage done. And there we go, WSD themselves get the damage done with 2 kills to open up the round.
And the CZ from Barbar as well, he's going to be picking up a frag. Honestly, there towards long, it would have been nice to see Kevzy have some sort of backup, because to be fair, he could have gotten that frag. You know, if he gets that frag, one of his teammates can pick up an easy rifle. That would have been very good for Epsilon. Or, worst case scenario, the teammates that's close by near Kevzy can actually try to be the one to go for the refrag, but no any sort of buddy system was set up there towards long. Kevzy just tries to go for the peek. He dies, the rifle drops. as their players get wrapping around through toilets. And yeah, it's very good for the terrorist side. I mean, they had those two MAC-10 players who were just running around, clearing out as many angles as possible. One of whom has recovered a rifle for his name, so why not? And Gaborik's still running around with his MAC-10, but now he's eventually gonna get dropped, so the scoreline will be going in favor here of the Estonians. And wow, Zinkin should be able to save the AK, so I guess that's good for him. And the Epsilon side are now going to be going for an investment here. Barbar can go for the op, and the op he will pick up. The Estonian side, I don't think if they're going to be purchasing an op, they haven't really needed at this point. They should still probably stick with rifles. If things aren't really going their way, then probably purchase the op. And Gaborik, in fact, is going to take the MAC-10. Alrighty then.
I mean, the MAC-10 does have some sort of niche positions where it can be better than the AK if you want to go sort of run and gun with it, but that's a very rare position, and you can see why the AK can be so powerful. Dodds finds that opening headshot on towards the boost. Barbar tries to get the job done. JZ Walkings finds a double spray down there. Both players tried to double peek him, and look at JZ Walkings continuing the aggression here. The bomb is down. If he could push towards it and spot that out, he could be a huge player in this one, but it's not meant to be. Spur finds him in the back, and in the meantime, Dodds just about reacts quickly enough to take down Eric and leave Kevzi in a 1-on-3. And again, Epsilon, they tried to force the issue. They tried to force the first kill in their favor, and yet instead it goes all against them. It all goes horribly wrong. And Kevzi now, well, he did get that one-on-one fight, but still two more opponents to deal with.
Two more opponents indeed, as Kevzi, he's got that in 4 of his. But as the bomb has now been planted towards his B bomb site. Oh yeah, Dodds busts him out. Dodds with the knife. No, he's gonna take it smart. I don't blame you, Dodds, but if he would have gone for the knife there, I think it would also been nice. It's also interesting to note that you said that, oh, you know, the MAC-10 is the sort of weapon you'd like to go for, the sort of running gun playstyle. But we saw the player, I'm not quite sure who it was running down with an AK-47 towards the B-bomb site, towards water, runs up, spots out the players boosting over the wall, boom, easy one-taps coming in there. The AK-47 also quite proficient in the running gun department. Epsilon, though, they're going to be stacking this B-bomb site, kinda stack, as they have 3 players on the site itself. And also one guy coming in from connector, but looks like that's not gonna matter much, as already the Epsilon side are not having it easy. But Barbar, though, crucial frags for him with the CZ. It still puts JZ Watkins in a 1 versus 2, and having that P250 is not gonna make things any easier for him.
Yeah, even with the bomb being dropped in an awkward position, still WASD can clean up the kill, and so again, WASD get themselves out to a fairly quick lead here, 5-2 up, and this time Epsilon will have the AWP in the hands of JZ Walkings. I believe it was Barbar in the previous round who tried to use it on towards that boost, but he went down early, so let's see if JZ Walkings can have a better time of things here for Epsilon, because at this point it's going to be fairly important for them to be able to get this gun round for themselves. They've already lost 5 in a row here, so they do run the risk of WASD's economy getting out of hand if they don't find this round. See JZ Walkings trying to make things happen in towards connector, but the Molotov will force him back. The nade does a tiny bit more damage, but not really anything considerable. But here goes the AWP peeking out. Can he land this shot? Player on the other side, and JZ Walkings gets the first kill, but can he get back to safety? There are players already pushing their way to be short on the WASD side of things, so it's not going to be easy for him to get back to safety, and he's out in the open. That allows Gaborik to find that eventual trade, so it is just a 1-for-1, even with the investment into the AWP.
That's a scary prospect, isn't it there? WASD, in fact. You know, I don't blame Epsilon trying to go a bit there aggressive, but it looks like the aggression doesn't work out. JZ Watkins, you know, he does pick up that 1 frag, but that's about it from the Epsilon side. WASD now in a position where, honestly, they should be taking this one, especially if they kill Zinkin. And that's already, I'm seeing a vision here, Haka. I'm thinking WASD should be the ones taking this round, especially Dodds taking that frag as well. It's pretty much over here for the Epsilon boys here from Sweden. Kevzi, he's still trying to go for this one. He's expecting it to be A, and the problem is Gaborik has got his number. 6-2 is the scoreline, maybe even the number itself, and Epsilon is not having it easy here on the CT side. They had a pretty good start though, all things considering. If you take a look at the scoreboard, they were the ones to pick up the 2 rounds in a row. But from that point onward, they're gone. Epsilon not getting a single round. That's quite horrifying, you could say.
Yeah, and a lot of that may have come down to that one-on-one that Gaborik won in the 3rd round to allow WASD to make sure they could have these subsequent buys and continue to pressure Epsilon. We are going to see a fair few pistol players in towards Connector, so Bitcher needs to make sure he doesn't overextend, and he's going to spot out some aggression from the CT side. Bitcher trying to line them up, but he goes down first, and there we go, the TZs find themselves a few kills. Here comes Gaborik though, trying to make sure that WASD are in as good a position as possible, but still he cannot deny the AKs from being recovered. So Epsilon, all things considered, will be very happy with that opening exchange. Even trades, they get themselves a couple of AKs, and even though they have lost control towards the A sites, this gives them options either to save these AKs or to try and see if they can find some quick headshots for the retake.
I mean, all you gotta do now is just try to find those headshots here, Epsilon. They have the weapons to do so, to be honest. The AK is coming out. Sees out of Barbar. Those Spur is way too quick. Taking down JZ Watkins, who I think found a gap there in the smoke. But apparently that wasn't good enough. Zinken and Barbar, now both of these players have AKs. Is that gonna be enough though? Well, Spur and Gaborik both relatively low on HP. We're seeing that Spur is blinking like a Christmas light, and Zinken, looks like Zinken and Barbar both will try to go for the save. Honestly, I'd say this is the correct choice. Again, if we take a look at the scoreboard, the team isn't really doing so hot on the money department, but when you think about it, Epsilon, they've lost 7 rounds in a row, which means that maximum lose money bonus of $3,400 is upon them, so they're gonna be having money. That is not the issue. It's about time they convert with the buys that they do have into rounds. Now that would be a very good conversion rate here for Epsilon.
Yeah, and they will be hoping that this double AWP setup will be the catalyst to make sure they can finally put a round on the board. It's Barbar again with the AWP alongside JZ Walkings. WASD are just going to spread out, fairly safe to start things off. We haven't seen too many quick plays from WASD, because for the most part, when they do go for a later round execute, it's been fairly successful so far. JZ Walkings there lands the shot on towards Dodds, but not enough for the kill. Just a lot of damage dealt as he goes down to 25 HP. And here comes the boost from KFC. There's a man in Connector. It's Spur who's going to get taken out. He doesn't predict the boost to come in. And in the meantime, Gaborik himself finds a kill with the AK-47. And that's going to allow WASD to attempt to push this A side quickly. And with the Molotov coming out here, Gaborik could find this kill. Zinken is in all sorts of trouble. Players all around him. Surely he will go down. And Vista does indeed find that frag. Here goes Gaborik, finding a second entry on the A site. And again, WASD swing things back into their favor.
This is now looking pretty much impossible yet again here. Epsilon, we haven't really seen them have a successful retake since forever, it seems like, here on the CT side of overpass. The first pistol round, that's what really comes to my mind when Epsilon, and we talk about Epsilon having a successful retake in that 2 versus 2, but other than that, it's been the storyline of this first half here. Epsilon having such a difficult time converting rounds into, well, these gun rounds into proper round wins, and I think they themselves now realize Epsilon will be taking the timeout here, and I don't blame them. They gotta figure something out, as these past couple rounds, they, well, been so dominant from WASD. Sometimes Epsilon, we saw from the get-go in this round, for instance, we saw Epsilon, I think they were the ones to get the initial frag there towards Connector, but then we saw a player trading things out there towards Toilets. The player in Toilets dies, and his only backup was the player on the A side who's playing passively. That sort of setup doesn't really make much sense, as I think he was maybe watching long. If he's watching long, I guess that does make sense, but they're still so far apart from each other, it's relatively impossible to help out each other. Then Gaborik just running through, takes down the player in Toilets, takes down the player on the side itself, and Epsilon just have it difficult for them.
Yeah, I think difficult is only sort of scratching the surface of how Epsilon have been performing in these recent rounds. I mean, to be fair to Epsilon, a few of the gun rounds have been fairly close, even when they have been losing those opening fights. But I think the issue for the most part has been they haven't really been able to take those opening fights to work out for them. We've kind of seen Epsilon be willing to try and find those opening kills and not really have the success in doing so. And that's always going to leave you in a very tough spot, and look at it happen again. Vista this time just sprays through the smoke. I mean, sometimes when things just aren't going your way, it can continue to get out of hand, and Epsilon, they're not getting the luck to help them, are they? You can see the timing doesn't work out for JZ Walkings as the push comes through the molly. And this is looking dire for Epsilon as they continue to fall one by one. They all go falling down, and again, WASD have the A site all to themselves.
They are crumbling here. I don't even know what other word would describe their situation right now. Desperate could be it, especially if you're this first half has progressed so far that we're already good on the 12th round. The next round is going to be the 12th round. Epsilon only having 2 rounds on their CT side is not a good scoreline here. Kevzi taking down Bitcher, but honestly, they've been saving these rifles. Very little success. They have maximum lose money bonus. They can get the buys in here, Epsilon. It's just that, again, as I mentioned previously, it's becoming more and more difficult to convert these sort of gun rounds into proper round wins for Epsilon. As the scoreline is going to be 9-2 now, Epsilon, they've got to pull out something out of the hat. And honestly, I don't know what could it really be. We saw them try to go for the aggression ride, but then one of their players just gets shut down through the smoke. They also had a player towards birthday. I do believe that was JZ Watkins. When he sees his teammate is dead, he then tries to back away. He backs away, then gets stabbed in the back. I mean, this is just looking horrid for Epsilon.
Yeah, again, WASD, of course, in with a great chance at this round. Plenty of money and plenty of chances for them. With how Epsilon have been playing so far, they've been trying aggression fairly consistently, but WASD, you can see here across the map right now, they're just spread out, watching for any aggression that might potentially come through, and for the most part, that has allowed them to get those opening kills and then have success on their eventual pushes towards the sites. We do again see JZ Walkings with the AWP, but this time he's going to play a bit more safe. Bardar is the one man a little bit by his lonesome in towards connector with that Mag 7. And that could become an issue, but again, with the Mag 7, I don't really mind that too much. Just trying to see if you can even get a 1-for-1 isn't too bad. There's a nice Molotov, by the way, there to force JZ Walkings back. Bardar is having to watch towards multiple angles. You can see him trying to find the close range fight, but nothing really happening just yet. WASD again slowed down the pace of the round, and they are still very spread out here, and yet a couple of players moving forwards. However, now it seems like the call has been made. They're going to make their way back towards A and slowly but surely make their way forwards, with Epsilon playing very safe on towards the side, but Gaborik still finds the opening kill.
Yeah, and that's really the difficulty of holding connector, but now Barber has the perfect opportunity to do something about it, and he's spawning out Spur, putting in the shots, but it's not gonna be good enough. Kevzi and Eric, they're still alive here on the CT side, and they're far, far away from the action, and you know what that means, Haka. It's about that time of year again where Epsilon is gonna try to save, and heck, Kevzi drops. Now it's all up to Eric to even try to save the M4.
Yeah, and he might be going down soon, because if he opens up this door, he will be able to spot the back. So there it is. WASD take a round, and this time Epsilon didn't even really look like they were in with a chance of coming out on top here. We kind of saw, again, the first fights not go their way, but then Epsilon didn't really find the trade kills, which we've been seeing so far. And so Epsilon, you know, even though in those recent rounds they have been losing, they have at least been finding the trade kills, and you felt like if just one player stepped up and, you know, got a double kill or something on the hold, they could have won the rounds. But that one just felt like WASD were always going to be coming out on top. We see the aggression again. JZ Walkings is the man pushed up in towards Party. He only has an M4, but he does get the first kill before Pitcher, despite being blinded up, manages to find the trade kill. And again, Epsilon not really having anyone help out JZ Walkings as, well, Dodd nearly lines up 2 kills there, but Eric does just about find the trade. So finally Epsilon finding some even trades, but again, this should still favour the T side. There's still 2 players stacked towards B, and WASD now might have the A side. Oh, how does that spray down work out? Barbar should have been able to find that kill. A very sloppy fight, but it goes in favor of Vista to make sure this round is very likely again going in favor of WASD.
And the thing is though, the guy who's on the side itself, or at least was, Eric, he's only 9 HP. I mean, you can't expect much from him. Kevzi, he's gotta do something. Eric has got a nice angle though, and this could be the difference maker, spotting out one more player. In fact, it's Eric with both of those frags. And I mean, Vista, 9 points of L for him. You gotta give at least one round here for Epsilon. I think this is gonna be the round as, oh yeah, Vista's been spotted out. Kevzi, there's no way in the world he can't screw this one up. And apparently that is gonna be it. 11? No. It's gonna be 3-10 now as WASD finally, their winning streak of 10 rounds has been stopped in its tracks and close in the end. Yeah, but Epsilon, they're still gonna be happy with a round win. WASD, they have money for days. That is not an issue for the terrorist side team. It's just really gonna come down to Epsilon. Can they acquire 2 more rounds to make the half at least somewhat more competitive? Otherwise, if it's gonna go 12-3, I don't see Epsilon making it out of that sort of situation.
We haven't seen too many fast plays from WASD, but that is about to change. The B play is going to come through. The counter flashes though slow down the push so much. The spray down coming in, the Molotov comes out, and that is the perfect way to shut down a B push. You use your utility, you manage to stop them in their tracks. Barbar here is going to find another kill. It's easy pickings for Epsilon. They get themselves another round on the board. They're finally starting to look like they are sort of reading WASD well. However, again, it could be too little too late, considering they still only have 4 rounds on the board, and best case scenario will be getting this last round of the half to get themselves up to 5.
It boggles my mind, why didn't WASD, you know, they were all rushing through Monster. Have at least 3 guys rush Monster, let the other 2 guys go, for instance, through water. They'd be having such a better survival rate if they were not going every single player for the same spot, the same angle. The team's survival rate would have increased dramatically though. This is now looking quite scary here for WSD because, oh, Vista through the smoke. I said it looked scary, but I think now Zinkin was the man that got scared to death as he drops there towards toilets. And Epsilon in general, you take a look at the setup they have right now, they're so concentrated towards toilets and long. And this is good, this is working out here for Epsilon for the time being though. WASD, they have the bomb, and the bomb will be making its way onto the bomb side. Dodds could be taking down one more player, that's Eric out. And now WSD will be planting the bomb, or apparently not. Barber now finally shows his cards. And Dodds and Gaborik with an all to do here.
Bomb is out in the open, and that's forced WASD to slow things down, but Gaborik still finds a headshot, and there we go. Dodds, with the last bullet of the half, finds a head. And that always looks very satisfying when you close out a half with a shot like that. WASD 11-4 up, looking in a great position. And again, if you look at the scoreboard, Epsilon, no one's really playing badly. No one's really completely having a terrible game. Most of them are near even in terms of their kills and deaths, which I think shows a fair few of those rounds in that stretch in the middle there were fairly close, but they just didn't quite have that extra little oomph that they needed to get the rounds to come their way. And so now they're going to be heavily reliant on this T-side pistol. Would expect Barbar to go for some nades. He goes for a P250, a smoke, and a flash. On the WASD side of things, they are more than happy to rely on their aim. It's been serving them well so far, so they will just go for the 5 sets of Kevlar. Barbar, with those nades, by the way, is currently towards the B side, so he might try to sell the fake there, while the rest of Epsilon make their way out towards A long. But WASD won't fall for it because they pushed out B themselves. That could be very important. Barbar does go down. He doesn't get the kill. And Epsilon are crumbling yet again. They've only got 3 players left, and Spur is here to cut them off. WASD just in great positions every time to make sure they find themselves the kill. Spur doesn't need to take these fights. He finally pulls back. And 2-on-5 again. Epsilon don't have too many chances, although there come a couple of quick kills back. Here comes the flank though. Gaborik should find the backstab. Decides to play safe though, so maybe still a chance here for the Swedes.
There might be a chance, but now look at the crossfire being set up, and that is the end here for Epsilon. Picking up the pistol round in the first half, but not the second one, as the pistol rounds will now be being split by both of these teams, and Honestly, if Epsilon would have had a fighting chance, I think it would have been because of the pistol round. No pistol round, no fun here for Epsilon. They're gonna have to go for a force buy here because really, they don't have a lot of rounds to work with here. They want to try to have some sort of fighting chance, and if they get the force buy here going in their favor, the fighting chance could be presented right in front of them. But first of all, you gotta do something about that crazy P90 being sprayed down there. Kevzi is gonna do something about it. He's gonna cower away, as that is just a difficult fight to take. And Epsilon, some initial damage being exchanged here, true, but honestly nothing detrimental, I'd say, for both these teams. Epsilon also relatively slowly but surely they are moving towards Fountain.
Yeah, and there's not really any presence here from WASD. They just have the one man at A long, as well as a player, I believe, in towards Connector. But Gaboric doesn't really want to go peek here. Still, Spur finds the first and a second kill towards A long. That MP9 shredding the players with the pistols on the T side of things. And so now Dodds can rotate up. Gaboric can rotate back around and make sure the A site is not open for business. There is no chance for Epsilon to get anything done. And so FC, the one man who was over towards B, will also end up falling. I think at this point, WASD, they're just so far ahead. Epsilon, it's tough to see what they can do. It's getting pretty depressing for them at this point. Again, they're finding some kills. They're finding some chances in the rounds. They're finding some spots there that WASD weren't covering in terms of the push in towards bathrooms, and yet still WASD just seem to manage to recover themselves into a really good position round after round.
You hate to see it happen. I mean, we saw a double peek there from both of the players in long, and not a single one of them actually able to kill Spur there with a MP9 nonetheless hiding behind the rock. That was quite hard to watch, especially around like this. Now we're seeing a full-on eco here from Epsilon. This isn't looking good for them. JZ Watkins, though, will be taking down one of those players, and even a second one with the P250. Of all weapons, it's gonna be the P250. And now Epsilon, I wouldn't say that they have a fighting chance. It's just that the sort of man advantage that they do have because of it, they might be having themselves a better time on entering on either of the sides. It looks like it's gonna be the B bomb side, but even though they are moving slowly here towards B, Dodds is ready and waiting with the MP9. If there was a better time for him to step up, I guess it would be in a round like this. This is an eco after all, but still the pistols, he's gonna get overwhelmed. JZ Watkins getting his third into the round. And as I was mentioning, that's only the P250. Doesn't even have any sort of armor, but he might just drop the bomb in your picture. In fact, he plays it safe, and oh no, Vista. Oh no, Vista crushing the dreams here for Epsilon, as they might have had a chance. But now with that bomb being dropped, it's pretty much over at this point. Vista, the MP9 is going to be getting, the P90 is going to be getting a frag there. And Barber with the FAMAS, he just doesn't have a lot of time. He doesn't have a lot of anything in this round. He needs to find these frags as quick as possible. Saving the FAMAS just doesn't make much sense.
WASD shouldn't face here. Oh, that was incredibly close. There was obviously no time for the plant. But again, you can just see the confidence flowing through WASD. They continue to fight even when they don't need to. And it does manage to get them the round win. Here comes the buy from Epsilon. This is what they are going to hope will have themselves the chance for the comeback, if you like. But even then, it's just such a tough such a tough road ahead of them, such a tough path to come back into this game. We'll get to see, though, maybe if they could have a better showing, if you like, on their T side. That would be nice if they could pick up some rounds, show us that they have some plays in their back locker, but Spur doesn't want them to have any chance here. He finds a great kill on towards JZ Walkings, and WASD is going to push out. They don't even care anymore. You can see the push coming through. They might just spot out the bomb if their Epsilon players aren't careful, because the Epsilon team, they're trying to line up the B play, but the bomb is not in their control now. This has gone wrong. Oh dear. Epsilon, they could be in real trouble now, although the AKs are going to find some kills back, so maybe still a chance for Epsilon, even without the bomb in their control.
Yeah, and that's the problem, though. You know, they dropped that bomb, or the CTs know where the bomb is at, and this is just going to cause precious time here for Epsilon. But as I say, so the bomb has been recovered, so it isn't that bad now. All they got to do now, Spur, is gonna try to hold this one off. It's gonna be difficult, to be honest, but he does land one of those shots, and the bomb is still making its way. So now Gabor coming in from behind, the perfect timing for him. And now Eric, I think the nade is gonna be the finisher of him. It's in the hands of it's in the hands of Gabor. He actually lands the Molotov. But Eric, it's still such a difficult round for him. Don't expect much from him. 10 HP for him as he is making his way towards A. This is where his Spur getting that angle. It was, well, pretty anticlimactic, I could say that.
Yeah, and I think anticlimactic kind of sums up this game so far. Epsilon, I thought we're going to put up at least a decent fight. I was always favouring WASD, especially coming off the back of a couple of wins. However, Epsilon never really able to get themselves into things here. Even though they won that first pistol round, ever since that round number 3, they really have not been having too much success. And Epsilon, they are going to try and just go for the quick B play. Vista is here though, lining them up. There's the 1-2 kills, looking for the third. And Vista just sprays them all down. Here comes the third, trying to find the trade, but Epsilon did find a couple of frags in reply. So they're not completely out of the round just yet, but still, great spray down from Vista to give WASD the advantage.
Epsilon, why? Why have you purchased all of that utility and you just decide to rush onto the B-bombs? And again, in similar vein, we saw from WSD. The thing is though, WSD had rounds to work with. That was the first half. They had a bunch of money, and I kind of understand them trying to change up the pace. It didn't work out, whatever. But Epsilon, they gotta think things through. I mean, this is possibly the last round they're gonna be playing here on Overpass, and I'm sorry to put it, but that was a bit of a throwaway there from Epsilon. They, I think, would have had a better chance at playing maybe the passive style of Counter-Strike, allow for WSD to use some of their utility, then go for the push. But right now, that was... honestly, that was quite satisfying to say the least. We're now seeing the push now as the players haven't spotted rotation. It's going to be swift here as Boric might fall, that is true, but at the same time there's Bitcher and Spur, and they're still in a pretty decent position, I'd say. JZ Watkins, he's low on HP, that is true, and oh, Flash and his teammate, that's not according to plan, I'd say. Bitcher's M4, I'd say, is going to have to do most of the work, but there's also Spur with the op.
Yeah, here comes the push alongside the flashbang. The Spurs still not particularly peeking out aggressively. I think he's waiting for Bitcher with the rifle to try and come in first. And Bitcher will get that quick headshot, but Barber with a solid trade trying to win the one-on-one. The molly comes out, that should be enough. I don't think there's the time for Spur. He goes hunting, but Barber playing it so smart. Just dancing around the site and making sure Spur never really had the chance to find the kill. And to be fair to Barbar, he is the one player on the Epsilon side alongside JZ Walkings, fragging fairly well, up to 17 kills now. And a nice clutch from him, holds his nerve to give Epsilon their 5th round on the board. And WASD here probably don't need to go for a force buy, but I guess they're so far ahead that they just want to close this out as soon as possible. We'll get to see if this is the case, because Spurs still has an AWP, so there's still every chance for WASD in this 21st round. Although JZ Walkings lands the shot there. I was going to say I thought he should have got the kill, but Gaboric, I think it was, survives on 64 HP. And look at WASD pushing aggressively in towards Fountain. Gaboric is going to come out round the corner. The timing is everything, and it goes in the side of Epsilon. JZ Walkings finds that first kill. Again, not really needed from WASD. Maybe a little bit too overconfident right now, but we'll get to see if they can still try and pull off the 4-on-5.
Would be at least nice to see a couple more players push up towards Fountain, not only Lonesome Gaboric. He could have had some sort of backup, especially with the op in hand. I mean, Spur has got that op. I think if there was a better spot for him to play at, it would probably be towards Fountain, have his teammate backing him up. And Spur, though, he may not need any sort of backup, but he's going to be pulling in the shots, and JZ Watkins is going to get tagged down into the leg shot. But he still survives with 16 points of health, so that still means that's a live man here. And Eric will be hitting down Dawes. I'm not quite sure how did Dawes whiff those shots with the CZ, but after all, that was still a relatively long distance, even for the pistol right there. JZ and Eric are low on HP, but at the same time, with 20 seconds left on the clock, they shouldn't be having it hard here, I'd say, Epsilon. They're going to be pushing on this B bomb site. Bitcher is coming in, but at the same time, Vista towards the bomb site is not going to accomplish much. So now if you're Bitcher, your best bet is, I'd say, to save the op.
Well, Bitcher decides it's not the best bet for him. He wants to win this clutch. And that first shot with the AWP was incredibly impressive, finding it through the wall. Bitcher thinking about falling back. He wants the AWP, though. Where is the AWP gone? He can't find it. This is a little bit awkward now. Bitcher having a look around. I think he is now just committed to staying here. Certainly no real chance for the clutch, but yeah, I don't know where the AWP actually went there. Bitcher can't find it. He does get another exit kill, and so he's going to be resigned to attempting to save this AK-47. It looks like that should be a possibility. Indeed, he will sneak away in towards connector. So again, a gun saved. Epsilon, they're at least putting up a bit more of a fight. WASD, again, one last time look for the AWP. I don't think Bitcher can find it, unfortunately, so just going to be the AK saved into this round, and we should finally see an eco from WASD.
An opportune time to go for an eco. I mean, they have that AK-47 being saved there in the hands of Bitcher, but honestly, just go for an eco, get yourself a proper buy then, and try to close out the game, because right now, just going for the sort of half buys, forced buys, it doesn't make much sense. Just get yourself a proper buy with those M4s, maybe even an op onto Spur. I'd say that if you're WSD, you can really just try to play a bit more, maybe even aggressively. If the aggression doesn't work out there from the get-go, like in the next couple of rounds or so, then again, just try to save up some of that money and play a bit more passively. I mean, they have so many rounds to work with here at WSD that not closing this one out seems very unlikely, especially from the caliber that we are to expect from this Estonian squad.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say WASD, I mean, I think even the way they've played these recent rounds, they haven't really been sort of putting in their best efforts, if you like. It seems like they are kind of cruising a little bit after having such a big lead. So as soon as it gets a little bit more serious, if you like, on the WASD side of things, I would expect to see them be able to close out at the very least one more round and take this game for themselves. And let's see if it will be this round, because they still do have Bitcher with the AK who could try and do some damage, and if he could find some entries, there is still some sort of hope for WASD, but not too much for anyone else to work with, and that is proven, as Vista with the USP will not be able to find any sort of entry over towards the B aggression.
Yeah, hardly. With a USP, I mean, it's such a hard task ahead of Vista. It's just pretty much impossible to get a frag with the USP. I mean, the player Kevs would have to whiff all of his shots, and then if Vista's aim is on point, he might just get the frag. But otherwise, I'm still seeing Epsilon wants to take this one. Really, they can't screw this one up. I mean, they have those AK-47s, the AWP, as well as the MAC-10 to Barbar. I mean, if you have like a player like Barbar, he's got to be the one to make the plays here, and he is. Look at him, he's already on the A-bomb side. He doesn't see Bitcher though, so the timing could not work out. Okay, it will work out for Barbar in the end. I was probably thinking, you know, Barbar making the call, okay guys, A side is empty, A side is empty, and then the players from the Epsilon side just rush on through, and then look who's there, it's Betcher with the AK-47 waiting for all these players to come to his way. That didn't happen though. It's Epsilon claiming their 7th, but it's still a long journey ahead of them.
Yeah, WASD themselves though don't have the best of buys into this round. No AWP for Spur, and we've seen them be very willing to go for double AWPs even on their T side in the past. So not exactly the best buy for WASD, but they will just be sitting back. Again, as well, no defuse kit, but some utility to attempt to slow down the push. And on the Epsilon side of things, it looks like they are just going to wait to see if JZ Walkings can find anything with this AWP in terms of entries. And see, this time WASD, they've got the 3B play on their CT side, which is something you will see fairly often. But also they have the A players somewhat pushed up to try and gather information to make sure the rotate could come in time. And here we go. The information will be there, but not the kills for the CT side. Both Vista and Gaborik go down without too much to show for it. And so Epsilon again in a good position to take this round, especially as Jay-Z Walkings also chimes in with a kill of his own.
Maybe even a bit too many of these one-on-one duels being taken here from the Estonian side, and now they're just crumbling. Look at this. I did not expect to see them crumble so quickly here under the pressure of Epsilon. They didn't have a lot of success here. WSD really, I mean, Dots finally gets the frag, but really, all of his teammates are dead, so that frag doesn't really matter much. Dots, at this point he's in right now, it does make sense to even try to save that AK-47, because again, Estonian team WSD is just gonna have to go for an eco. They're gonna be having some money issues, and that's the thing though. Even though you might be having maximum lose money bonus, if you're gonna be doing like a full-on investment and you end up losing the round, you're gonna have to eco. Well, maybe not necessarily an eco, a partial buy. It's still not gonna mean much. So you know, Epsilon, it's still not looking too bad for them, all things considering.
We're back to a 15-8 scoreline. At this point, I think I prefer WASD to just go for a fairly hard eco. I want to see them get those AWPs back on their side of things, because it seems like they want to play fairly sort of aggressive towards A. They want to take those early fights, but without the AWPs on the CT side, it is fairly difficult to win those fights against the AKs, especially when you have multiple players pushing towards you. So we do see WASD invest very little into this round. That is exactly what I wanted to see, to make sure they have the best possible chance to get those AWPs into the upcoming gun rounds. And Epsilon themselves going into connector here, surprisingly enough. Considering they're against pistols, that's a fairly big risk. So I'll be interested to see if WASD can find any of these close range fights here, because that's certainly going to be a possibility for them. But no duels coming in just yet, despite a fair few players on the minimap looking very, very close together. A sort of tense start to this round.
Yeah, indeed. Dawes will be, in fact, to take down Zinkin out of the map. And now there's still 4 terrorist players remaining, but WSD, all of their players are relatively close towards the B. Bomb side, Bitcher gets the timing perfect. He drops the bomb carrier. Oh, okay, that's actually the lineup there for Eric. He was very successful at getting both of those frags. The stars definitely lining up for him, and now Epsilon, they do recover the bomb, but the problem is, though, the Estonian team is very close on their heels. Vista, though, will be dropping Eric, and burning in the flames is Vista. Spur and Dodds both getting AKs for their troubles, but the thing is, though, Epsilon, they haven't really recovered the bomb just yet. They have to find it, and yeah, I see that they're gonna try to go towards A, and just about gets it is Jay-Z Watkins, also throwing in a Molotov, but Spur moving in through the flames like a superhero. And the thing is, though, Spur and Dodds are so low in HP, it's pretty much impossible at this point. Kevzi should be getting a relatively easy frag here on the Spur, and don't expect much there from Dodds as well, spotting out their Spur. And now Dodds looks like he's gonna fall to Jay-Z Watkins, but he does whiff the shot. So Dodds, it's still looking very difficult for him.
Yep,
that's gonna be the case.
Yeah, not too much else to be said there. I mean, you pretty much covered it all. Very difficult, ends up going down. In terms of Spur, I think Spur must have thought he was, as you were saying, Superman or something, just running through the flames, and then halfway through he realised, ow, this actually really hurts. He goes down to 7 HP. Either way, here we go. WASD have themselves the buy together. After a fair few rounds where it hasn't exactly been a fully optimised buy on their side, this is the one where they have everything they could want. They have the AWP for Spur, they have the full nades, and they have the best possible chance to come out on top, especially with their utility allowing them to push B short, taking map control away from Epsilon early into the rounds. Bitcher will be the man to stick around and make sure that they can't make their way here. And so WASD, this is a fairly common push, but it does give you so much information, and it kind of cuts off the rotation between the sites. Here goes Spur, though. Look at the aggression. On the edge of the smoke, he's going to look for the opening kill, and he finds a shot. In the meantime, though, Kevzi did find a frag elsewhere, so it's only a 4-on-4. And Spur's still sticking up close here. This is so risky from Spur. Looks like Kevzi himself, though, is going to go for the aggression, trying to find a second headshot, and that will work out for him. And in the meantime, Spur's AWP was also lost. He tried to stick around up close, he tried to make a play, and instead the Mac-10 greeted him with a kill. And so now Vista and Gaborik stuck in a 2-on-4, and again, this is starting to slip away from WASD a little bit here.
Indeed it is, you know, things were kind of looking up there, especially as Spur gets that initial frag, but now WSD are giving away way too much in a round like this. Gaborik, yeah, he's been spotted now, especially as Kevzi tries to go for that peek. Now Gaborik, look at his smoke splashes, everything raining in on him, and as he tries to jump around, it's simply not going to mean much here. WSD now, I'd say for them, things are kind of looking scary. You know, they still have 5 rounds to work with here, which is nice for them. 5 lifelines, if you will. But Epsilon, they are... I don't want to say the C word, because if I do say it, I think Epsilon might crumble. You know how it is with the caster curse, Haka.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, oftentimes you'll see teams just kind of win these rounds on the CT side. After the comeback comes so close, sometimes you just see the Pistols somehow manage to come out on top, but this time that will not be the case. Epsilon already finding those 2 entry kills, and so it looks likely we're going to go back to a 15-11 scoreline. Remember, this is a very important game for WASD. If they win this, they're going to go top of their group with, sure, a couple of other teams still left to play, but the only team that would be able to catch them would be Kinguin, who would have to win both their games to tie for first. So WASD, they really do need to close out this game sooner rather than later, because as the rounds keep on ticking by, slowly but surely, Epsilon have managed to get themselves back into a position where this is looking like a fairly close game now, and if you'd have said that to me earlier on, I wouldn't have believed you, but 15-11, again, fairly close scoreline. We are going to see Dodds here, probably in trouble. Again, these kills pretty much irrelevant, to be honest, in the grand scheme of things. Epsilon have loads of money. WASD, we're going to have loads of money as well, so it's pretty much all up to this buy round now. And WASD have now got the money for double AWPs if they wanted to go for it. But it's only going to be Spur going for the AWP. He's been playing very aggressively so far in towards mid when he's had that AWP. I'd like to see him just maybe play a bit more safe, or at least have some support from his teammates in terms of using utility to help him get out. Because you saw in the previous round, he stuck around for too long, and that ended up costing them. So let's see what Spur does with this AWP as he peeks in towards mid. Not really going to get too many chances, as Epsilon much more heavily leaning towards B.
Yeah, that's true. That nade, 2 of those nades being thrown out there towards Monster. Epsilon is gonna try to push through. They're coming in here full force, but is that gonna be enough? The full force though, Barbar does pick up Gaborik, which isn't that bad, but Bitch are dropping Eric. And now look at this, Dodds with the master play, but JC Watkins though goes for that sort of 90 degrees flick, and you just had to say the C word, didn't you, Haka? You said it. And Epsilon lost it. How can you explain yourself?
I'm just actually a big WASD fan, so decided to put the caster's curse in there.
Ah, I see. I guess it's understandably so, especially if you are a fan of WSD. And how can you not be? I mean, this team pretty much, I'd say a year ago or something, weren't really out there, you know. Now we're seeing them in events, in sort of closed qualifiers, online events as well, and they're showing up to be relatively decent. You know, they're beating some of the better teams, their alternate attacks, relatively close game there against Seed, winning against, you know, Epsilon right here on Overpass. But I mean, the thing is though, we played pretty much their best 3 maps, Overpass, Train, and that was also Inferno. Really, I wouldn't say the map pool is really in-depth, but, you know, they're relatively good at those 3 maps, and really, in the modern-day Counter-Strike meta, those maps are coming up more often than not. Overpass, not so much, but Inferno and Train, yeah, sure. But anyhow, that was about it. Any closing thoughts about this game?
These are the kind of games it's really hard to take too much from. Like, it certainly felt like WASD, after they had that huge lead, they did kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit. They kind of didn't maybe take all the rounds as seriously as they should have, and that nearly ended up costing them here, but they eventually get the round they needed. I think it was, to be honest, never really too much in doubt that they were going to get this win. And as I was kind of saying earlier, that puts them up to 4 wins, 1 loss in the group. They have played all their games, and only Kinguin can catch them. So it's looking good for their chances to be able to get that first place. And again, first place in the group is enough straight away to get you a spot at the LAN. So that's why these groups are so important for these teams. And if WASD could get that LAN spot, that would be really, really nice for them. And you know, they're a team that as you said, they played a couple of LANs. They played at Game On, where you were at, where you got to see them play. and they've looked fairly good. So I'd like to see them against some even better competition. It will certainly be exciting to see them if they can continue this upwards trend.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to say they're still one of the more interesting, I'd say, storylines here in the world of Counter-Strike, especially coming from a region that isn't really well known for their Counter-Strike prowess. Now we're seeing some of these players from Estonia, joining international lineup. The names that come to my mind: Fates, HS, Rops. These are the players who are from Estonia after all, and even though they're not part of these sort of national lineups, they are showing up to be relatively good players. And heck, Estonia as a Counter-Strike nation is relatively decent. They need some of that more experience, something to some sort of team to actually start grinding it out, try to show that, guys, look, Estonia, we're a relatively good, decent Counter-Strike country. And if I were to go a bit back in depth, when there was, remember, the World Championship, I think that was called, Estonia had a pretty good showing in that sort of meta space where you had these European nations competing and whatnot. But anyhow, that's going to be about it for this game, Epsilon versus WASD. We're now going to be tuning into relatively quickly here into our final matchup for today, Tricked versus Nova, as the video has come through. And apparently the map is going to be Train, so that's quite an interesting matchup right there. We're going to be taking a quick pause, and of course stay tuned as we'll be right back.